Today we are going to talk about the Pātimokkha. The Pātimokkha and the perceived mystery that people think occurs at the Pātimokkha. Someone asked me, like, "Ooh, can you tell me what happens, during this, secret meeting that you have where you become, instantly pure and whatever?" I guess if they're asking this question about what goes on in this secret meeting, in this purification process, that they do believe in, this magical stuff. And it is actually a time when monks are the most pure after the meeting. But is it magical? No. It's not magical. There's nothing mystical, but there is a little bit of a mystery about what goes on during the Pātimokkha, the recitation of the rules, the Uposatha day. Lay people are often kept out of the Uposatha hall, the sima. And because of that, people might speculate as to why it's a special place and why the purification happens. And I'll explain that as well. So, mystique, mysterious, and mystery. Basically because you just don't know what happens during the Pātimokkha. So there's no magic. There's only kamma. There's wholesome and unwholesome, and the kamma that comes with it. The kamma. It's that simple. We need to dumb it down and just talk about what's important. I think because Tibetan and the guru who does things for you to absolve your kamma, to get rid of your kamma, to dissolve it through ceremonies, to have other people enlighten you. In Theravāda, we don't have that. We don't have that. We might have skillful teachers who might say the right things that can motivate you to do things correctly. It might have skillful teachers who say the right things for you to actually understand the teachings correctly, but in terms of magical powers, I don't think so. At best, maybe they could, if you actually found a teacher who could read your mind and say the right things, and the Buddha could do that. Today, it's gonna be difficult to find such teachers. But who knows, maybe some exist maybe. We'll talk about a sima, the Uposatha hall. This is a place where some traditions don't allow the lay people in. They don't allow the lay people to walk inside, especially when there's a meeting going on. But a sima is a special place. It's a sacred place. It's a place for monks. And you can think of it like a courthouse. When you're having like a trial or something like that, you can't just have a trial at someone's house or underneath a tree and come up with a legal verdict. You have to do it in a courthouse. You have to do it in a special place. And the same thing is true with legal things, that monks have to do, legal transactions. Vinaya kamma is what we call it. Jnati. When we're doing legal things, official acts, ordinations, the Uposatha, the invitation. It's called pavarana. So these things need to be done inside a sima. A sima. It's like a courthouse. It's a special place. And we purify the land before we do that, but this is actually just removing a previous sima that has possibly been laid down, because you can't have two simas overlapping each other. It's against the rules. So it's a legal boundary for legal transactions that monks are doing. And so that's what a sima is. And in terms of the rules for a non-upasampada monk to enter the sima, a non-upasampada monk means we could say like a samanera, or a layperson, or like a sayale, siladhara, etc., anagarika. So we have like a thing called, the hatapasa of the monks. And we're not allowed to have, when we're having the monks within a certain area of each other, sort of like chain linked, and they're all sort of, if we could say they're touching, but within a certain distance, they're seated within a certain distance, to make sure that quorum is actually completed. So simas could be like a square mile. Okay, you could have a sima that's a square mile, and so just merely being in the sima, being in the legal boundary, is not good enough to actually count whether there's quorum or not, whether there's unity, whether everyone's hearing what's going on. So they made a rule that you have to be together, and you have to, lay people cannot be within 2.5 cubits of the group of monks who are within the hatapasa, within an arm's reach, basically. And so the lay people need to be about 6-7 feet away. Just be safe, 10 feet away, okay? And then you can enter the sima, you can enter into the uposatha hall, as long as you're not close to the monks in that sense. So stay away 10 feet so no one gets any doubt. It's for sure, it's no problem. But I think people don't, a lot of the monks, they don't know the rules themselves, and so they also get superstitious about this as well. So lay people are often excluded by tradition, but they don't necessarily have to be. So it doesn't have to be a mystery. You can listen to the Pātimokkha. You have to sit for 45 minutes or 50 minutes, sometimes an hour, and you're just hearing someone chant the 227 rules in a language you won't understand. And so there's not really much of a point for attending, but if you want to, you can. And so why are the monks pure afterwards? Why are the monks considered pure? Is there some type of magical thing that's happening? Well, if you've heard my talks before, you know that I tried to discourage this whole thing about magic, and that there's only wholesome and unwholesome actions or speech, even through the mind, that happens. And we say that this is the good things, or the good, it brings good results, and it brings bad results. So in terms of the purity, the monks are doing a confession before they enter the uposatha hall. They're confessing any offenses that they have, that they know about, or that they even don't know about. And they're confessing it. Because we can have offenses that we don't know about. You sort of have to know about them to confess them, but we confess all offenses just in case we might remember later on. This is the Theravāda way. And so during the Pātimokkha, the reciter, the Pātimokkha Bhanika, will ask 3 times, are you pure? Are you pure? Are you pure? Everyone is silent, therefore I understand everyone is pure. And because of that, when each section is chanted, and at the end, the reciter asks, are you pure? Are you pure? Are you pure? And everyone's silent, then that means that everyone's pure with that rule in front of their peers. And there might be a time where you remember that you have an offense and you forgot to confess it in case you're only confessing what you know about. Then you have to sort of elbow your friend next to you, and you have to tell him that you have this offense, or you even might have this offense, you're not sure. And that's good enough to avoid what we call musavada, lying by being silent when they're asking you if you're pure. And so the lay people, they often give donation at the end of the Pātimokkha. And probably they know that the monks, or they've been told that the monks are the most pure at that time. And it's the best time to give donation to the monks when they're most pure, because it will have better effects. But the main thing is that they confessed their offenses before the meeting started, actually. And the whole thing about, when they ask you if you're pure, when they, 3 times, this is just sort of, in front of your peers, declaring your purity to the peers, to your fellow monks. Now, the monks who use money, money is like a sticky thing. So when you normally confess, all you have to do is confess. You say, I confess all my offenses to you. And then the other monk will say, do you see all your offenses? And the monk says, yes, I see my offenses. And he says, will you restrain yourself in the future? And he says, yes, I will restrain myself in the future. That is the confession. The problem with if a monk uses money, the monk becomes pure, for offenses that don't need to have items forfeited, and for offenses that are not heavy, recoverable heavy offenses. So these the confession purifies that monk. That's it. And if he has like a robe that he needs to forfeit because he held on to it for too long without determining it, which is very common, then he has to give up his robe to a friend, and then he confesses, and then he gets the robe back, and then he's pure. The problem with money is that you have to get rid of it, and nobody wants to get rid of money. And not only do you have to get rid of money, but you have to get rid of the items that you bought with money. Now, in places where the lay people don't know the Vinaya, which makes it even more difficult for the monks to live a life free from money, you have monks who buy their own robes. They have monks who buy their own computers. They buy all their gadgets. They buy all their books. They buy all their books. Sometimes allowable for other monks, but not allowable for yourself. We have quite a few rules about that. And so that can be a problem because you don't give up what you but you should. And this is the problem with money, because it's sticky. Everything that you buy with money becomes unallowable, and you have to give it up. And there are monks who do that, and it's not easy, and it's very wonderful that they can do that. But a lot of monks get stuck with that. And so what do? Because they do the Pātimokkha. They do the Pātimokkha, and they don't want to lie. They don't want to be guilty of the musawada, because it says in the very beginning that if you're silent, it's musawada, and you won't be able to progress. Actually, if you break any of the rules, you won't be able to progress. But within these circles, they say, well, it's the 5 precepts that prevent the progression. So what do? They do a short version of the Pātimokkha, and they stop right before the items that should be forfeited, right before the Nisaggiya Pachitya section, after the Aniyata section. Takes about 15 minutes maybe to do the whole thing. It's easy. And you're allowed to do it for certain valid reasons, like there are dangers, you have to cut it short, or nobody knows it, and you only know half of it, or it's actually maybe a quarter of it. There are certain reasons, there are dangers, and you have to leave, and usually nobody knows it, so you just do it in brief. But they just do it because it's convenient nowadays. You could do it because you have a sick monk. You can make an excuse, like you have an old monk in the audience. We have monks at our place, and they don't. Sometimes they don't want to go. And I'm like, well, sit in a chair. If you're sick, sit in a chair, because we have a monk who has bad back, and he says, well, I can't go. And I'm like, well, sit in a chair. You have a valid excuse. Sit in a chair. But normally the monks, they don't do the Pātimokkha. And if they do it only during the rainy season. And if they do, they're only doing the 15 or 20-minute version instead of the 40, 50-minute, sometimes an hour version. And then they don't hear that they do it in brief, and then they don't hear the rules on items that they're supposed to give up. And so that's a little bit about the purity. So everyone confesses. Everyone gets rid of the things that they're supposed to get rid of. Especially if you hear they're doing the long version, this is even better. But actually, any offense, if you do something intentionally, even like the smallest, even the smallest thing is called dukkha pati. If you do like the smallest offense of wrongdoing, and you have intention, then this will be an impediment for progress. So how do you know if they're doing the short version? It takes 20 minutes. I don't think there's anyone who can do the Pātimokkha in 20 minutes. There might be a very, very select few who can do it in maybe like 30 minutes or so. If they can do it in 30 minutes, everybody will know that this is a very special monk, and it's like super, super fast. It's not really actually legible to the ear at that speed. 40 minutes is fast. 40 minutes is quite fast. 45 minutes means the monk really knows it well. And 50 minutes is more like the way I do it. And 1 hour. And if people can still know it well and take a long time. They can know it well, and they just take their time to pronounce every word. And those are really nice. Those can be really nice to listen to. When it's too fast, you don't want to listen to it. You can't listen to it, so you don't listen to it. You sort of try to pick up a few words, but it's so quick. Like I have the Pātimokkha memorized, and sometimes I can't understand it. I can't follow what's going on. So the monks are pure because they intend to go to the full Pātimokkha, they've confessed all of their apatis, their offenses, and they're listening to the full Pātimokkha. They got rid of what they're not supposed to have. And they've declared it they've declared their purity in front of their peers. And lastly, they did the Pātimokkha. If they skip it intentionally and they don't have a proper excuse, then this is also a problem. This is also lack of purity. Dukkha apati. Everything's dukkha apati. That's why we have 9 billion rules or whatever it is. Because if we count all the small, some nitty-gritty rules and the derived rules, then we have like billions of rules. So the main thing to know is that there's nothing mystical. There's nothing mystical. It's the thing about doing the confession. And there's nothing mystical or magical about doing a confession. What happens is the monk says that he did these offenses. The listener says, do you see your offenses? And he says, yes, I do. And then the listener says, will you restrain yourself in the future? And the monk will say, yes, I will refrain. I won't do it in the future. And so this is how the monk becomes pure. There's nothing magical about it. He's just making a determination. He says, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And there's someone to listen to that. And they don't actually specifically, it's very rare that they specifically say what offense they did wrong. Even in the Thai tradition, they methodologically, they systematically go through the different classes, all of them, no matter what. They can pick and choose, but they do all of them. And so, but the main thing is the mind of the person, of the monk. The main thing is the mind of the monk who is confessing. He knows what he did wrong. He's also confessing, he's being humble and confessing things that he might not know about. He might not remember. It might not be in his mind. He might have said, oh, I need to confess this, but didn't, and then forgot. And so he's confessing everything. He's willing, he's recognizing the rules, and he's going to listen to the rules on that day. And that's why we chant them, so that we can remind ourselves what the rules are, so we don't accidentally break them. We have more mindfulness, and all the rules have reasons. So the monks become pure, usually really before. And because they're supposed to listen to the rules, and if they don't listen to the rules, there's also an offense. So when the end of the Pātimokkha finishes, then we have everything is complete for 2 weeks. So he's confessed before he went in. He participated in the ceremony that he needs to participate in. And then, so then at that moment, he's done what he needs to do as a monk. And the Uposatha day, Pātimokkha, the recitation of the 227 rules, is finished. Nothing magical. But it is true that the monk is pure after that meeting. There is a purification process that goes on. It's nothing magical at all. So the lay people, the reason why they don't understand is because they're excluded from the Uposatha hall. You don't need to be excluded from the Uposatha hall. But if the monks of the tradition don't want you to go into the Uposatha hall, then you shouldn't go. You shouldn't violate that. according to the culture or the tradition. But you can ask them, you can say, look, it's okay to be in the Uposatha hall, but as long as I stay 10 feet away, then there should be absolutely no problem. And then the monk, he should know. Someone in the monastery probably knows that it is okay. But some don't even know. And so there's nothing magical that happens, and you can remove that mystery. You can go see what happens. There's nothing special that happens. But we're listening to the rules, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. There's a confession, there's a reflection, there's a reaffirmation of the rules. You can hear the rules and make a determination to do that. We're following the Buddha's instruction. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And by that, then the monk is pure, and of course it's the best time to give to all of Sangha. A lot of times they make a determination to give to every single monk individually as he walks out of the Pātimokkha. It happens all the time at Pātimokkha. And one time I walked out of the Sema hall and they were giving money. This is when I was at some monastery a long time ago, maybe like in 2016 or so. I think it was like after Katina, they wanted to give gifts and they wanted to give money, and there were quite a few of us who didn't accept the money. And so, but this is just a tradition. It's most monks are doing this, and it's like a vegetarian hating meat eaters. You're gonna hate the world. You can't do that. You can't hate monks who use the money, because you're gonna end up hating all monks, and that's bad kamma too. So it's not good. Not good to be a hating monk. But it's not good to do. It's not, using money is not good to do. But they're taught that it's the way to do things. And so that's it. I just wanted to clarify that. I probably spoke too long again. So I don't really have good view counts, I don't really have good view stats on my videos because I take too long. I explain too many things. Maybe I can explain it quicker. But if you're one of the few people, maybe about 15% maybe, watch the videos to the end, and you're not subscribed, you might want to subscribe, because this is what you get. So, you can leave a comment and whatever. So hopefully this sets the record straight. No more mystery.